Hi guys, Sky here, and we have Stormy here.
Hello.
So today we're gonna cover the latest episode of Falcon and Winter Soldier. We're on episode 3. This episode, we saw like the introduction, um, to like Zemo, once again, and also Sharon Carter. Um, and and overall, like, what did you think of this episode, Stormy?
I really liked it. I like the action sequences a lot. I think like the plot and the story were pretty good, and we'll touch on that a little bit later. But I definitely feel like the way they set it up and like the way they chose to go about it was really nice. Kind of getting us to see a side of Zemo and also a side of their struggle, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I don't know, like, um, because in this episode, we sort of saw Zemo as an ally, who was on the same side as Bucky and Sam. But I'm curious if he's gonna end up changing his way, or, this could be part of his plan, and he's just going along with it, but eventually he's just gonna, um, stabbed him in the back. So like I don't know. Um,
It seems
do you
likely.
think that's gonna happen?
It seems likely. I mean, like, what reason do they really have to, believe in his trust, and what reason does he have to believe in their trust? It's not really mutual yet. I mean, yeah, we've seen them kind of both help each other. You can make the argument, especially like when he gets the car, he could have dashed and left, but maybe he has a bigger motive. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, he could end up being the major villain, and we're just not seeing it yet. There's a lot of like, I don't, how would you say, like potential candidates as to who like the major antagonist could be. But yeah, there's no like clear hints at who it's actually going to be. It could end up being Zemo or John Walker or even the Flag Smashers. So I don't know. How did you feel about the Flag Smashers like scenes in this episode? They kind of gave us more like we sort of understood why they're doing this. They're not doing it for a bad cause.
I mean, it definitely gives them more humanity. It makes kind of like the villains kind of like more like relatable. But at that same point, it kind of makes me wonder like what their actual like connections are, like what they're trying to connect to the future story. Um, a really interesting scene that I thought was when she says get in the car, and then he's just like, oh, there's innocence. Because they left them in the building and the building explodes. To me, that kind of gives the idea of maybe potentially that their goal is changing, and that she's starting not to care about harming innocents, which generally leads down the path of like being a true villain. Um, which makes me think that maybe there's like a deeper connection there.
Yeah, I it could end up being that Zemo and the Flag Smashers are somewhat like allies. I don't know though. There's not enough like hints towards that. Um, how did you feel about the whole like super soldier serum like being kind of like a crucial plot point in the series so far?
I mean, it feels like it fits. It's not necessarily what everyone wanted, maybe, but it's definitely what I think we needed. Um, it gives a chance, for them to dive into the serum's like backstory more, and it gives them a chance to like maybe potentially end up with the series with Sam getting the serum, or getting a serum, I should say. Um, it kind of to me kind of sets up like the prospects of the series and kind of gives us a scope of what they may or may not be focusing on.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really I'm kind of surprised. I didn't expect them to cover the serum in the series. Um, I always thought that was I just never thought it would come back, but it's cool that they're bringing this element back into like the modern like MCU because we've only seen the serum pretty much overall like during like the Steve Rogers times before he was frozen up. Um so yeah, I'm happy that they're going with that plot detail. Um, how did you feel about Sharon Carter in this episode?
I mean, it delivered. It definitely makes me wonder, like, the context of, like, the future episodes. Not really a trio per se, but you know what I mean when I say, like, they introduce, like, a third character to kind of be a tag along. It makes me think that maybe, like,
Yeah,
the plot is gonna thicken a little bit more. Maybe a reason for her to be there, not necessarily just, like, randomly putting her there, you know what I mean?
yeah. I mean, in a way, it was kind of like um Sharon Carter, Sam, Bucky, and Zemo, kind of like a little team, but that could end up changing. We see in this series that in this episode that Sharon like says she can't continue, but she hopes that Sam will keep his promise and possibly like let the government like pardon her for like her things in the past. So yeah, I mean, hopefully she ends up returning. Because she's a good character. I feel that has a lot of potential in the series
Hmm.
and the MCU overall. So yeah, hopefully that's not the last we've seen of her.
And hopefully,
Um,
it helps the plot as well, because I don't think they would introduce a character like that for no reason.
yeah, for sure. Now another thing we should touch is the action. Sharon, we saw a lot of action with Sharon Carter. He was kind of like stealing the show this episode. I felt when Sam, Bucky, and Zemo were like um in that container like secret layer.
Hmm.
And she's taking care of all the like um I don't know like soldiers I guess and she's just destroying it with them. How did you feel about the action in this episode?
I like the action. I like Marvel going to kind of a more straight and upfront, not necessarily like dark in your face route, but like more, darker than what we're used to. This definitely feels like a step in the right direction. In past Marvel movies, I felt like it's kind of been dumbed down. And we didn't really get a chance to see as much action like we did in the series so far. And I definitely feel like it feels more organic. It for sure feels a lot more connected than what we're used to getting, and even like the scenes, like like the way the scenes are portrayed. There was a part where she like grabbed his arm, and I feel like the camera work even there was a lot different because before we weren't really shown that as much. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get what you mean. Yeah. Um, yeah, I mean, overall, all the action we saw in this episode was really good. It was well choreographed, and yeah, I did feel it was executed well. Um, we didn't see much of John Walker in this episode, which is kind of surprising, because I thought they were setting him up to be more of a player in the series, but
Yeah, for sure.
that could end up changing.
Hmm.
Uh, how did you do you think he's gonna be have a bigger part, or is he just like a side story?
I feel like there's potential to give him a bigger part, but I'm not sure what that part is. I'm obviously the agent, but like I feel like there's sort of like a bigger connection here that maybe we're not seeing. For sure, like his character itself, a lot of people find him annoying, but I do feel like he is important to the series itself, and he's kind of important to the integrity of the series to keep the series going the same way that it has been. Um, and I feel like he's bound to get a bigger role of some kind going forward.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like if you know his background in the comics, he's not exactly the good guy. So knowing that, I'm curious if they're saving that side of him for the future of the MCU, or they're gonna wrap his story up in this series. We'll see how they're gonna handle him, but yeah, I mean, I feel like hopefully we see more of him, so it doesn't feel like a side story in a way.
Hmm.
Yeah. Um, any like finishing details you want to touch on?
The credits, or I don't know if you would call it, like the end scene basically, with the Wakandan. Um, I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah. Um, that scene, I didn't expect that. What do you think it's hinting at? Like,
So, actually, there's a couple points I want to make. I think it's funny that when Bucky was the first one to actually go to like see I don't know if we know who the person was, but to actually like go there. I think that hints to a lot. I mean, obviously, he's one of the only um so far in the series, one of the only people they seem to starting to trust. After everything that happened, and I feel like that's a hint to maybe him having a bigger role with Wakanda in the future. Um, possibly his comic adaptations.
yeah, maybe we've gotten hints at him like being the White Wolf, um, like with like an ally of Wakanda. So I'm curious if they're gonna fully embrace that by the end of the series, because we're starting to see a possibly like hint at that Wakanda like connection. Um, but yeah, I'm like curious how they're gonna end up like wrapping that up, um, and setting it up for the future of the MCU.
Yeah, and
Um,
I mean, like, considering that it seemed pretty direct. It made me think that maybe this is gonna have a way bigger premise than we thought. I definitely thought that was way out of the blue, and I kind of expected it to happen at the same time. So it made me feel really good about the future episodes.
yeah, for sure. Well, that's what we thought overall of this episode. I'm curious to see how the things they've set up so far are gonna end up playing out. No, like will Sam end up taking the super soldier serum, or will they end up just destroying it? No, stuff like that. I'm curious how it's gonna be wrapped up or set up for the future. Um, anything you want to say, Stormy?
Just that I'm excited as always, and I'm hoping that we get a lot more out of these next few episodes.
Yeah. All right. We'll see you guys for the next episode of Falcon and Winter Soldier.